I met a French rich boy online. At first glance he looked dangerous, like the kind of man who might bite down on a cigar and negotiate a multi-million-dollar deal without blinking. I thought he was exactly my type, the charming kind of trouble I always fell for. Turns out this Frenchman is a clingy sweetheart and hopelessly jealous. I'll give him this though, he has talent. Every time we argue he manages to get those eyes all red and shining, torn between pulling away and wanting more, like we're reliving the first time all over again. That night he FaceTimed me while I was still debating whether I should break up with him. The moment the call connected, 8 perfectly carved abs filled my entire screen. He had that and didn't think to show it off earlier. I stared at that sharp delicious line and swallowed hard. So were we trying something a little more intense tonight? What was going on? Was the little puppy suddenly done with his strictly platonic phase? Hadn't he spent every night reading me Shakespearean sonnets to help me fall asleep? Did he finally feel like our relationship was getting a bit too watered down and decide to hit me with some visual impact? Well, if that's the case, we are definitely not breaking up tonight. Welcome, lovely, stay with me till the end and tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I like to imagine girls around the world sharing this warm, heart-fluttering moment together. Handsome, are you open to taking ad jobs? This is the Calvin Klein underwear department. Could you send over your measurements and a few photos? I'll mail you some samples. Such a boring life, such an indecent mouth. I had barely finished teasing my online boyfriend when I saw him slow as ever pulling on a linen shirt. Forgot to put clothes on, he said lightly. Did I scare you? No, you don't need to put anything on. I watched those long, elegant fingers fasten each mother of pearl button one by one, and I felt that familiar frustration, the kind where your hand just can't reach through the screen. God, seriously. And here I was getting excited for nothing. Who exactly was he trying to seduce just now, standing there so casually bare? He suddenly leaned close to the camera, his blue eyes bright as glass. Babe, what are you disappointed about? That you still can't touch me? No wonder people say French men are born with flirtation coded into their DNA. Soft, deadly, effortless. Damn this phone. I paid over $1,000 for it and they swore the whole thing was full touchscreen. Yet here I was unable to touch a thing that mattered. I sighed. My willpower is weak. Stop tempting me. He let out a low laugh, eyes narrowing with mischief. Babe, I haven't even started yet. Can I fly to see you? I'm guessing you want to know how excited your puppy gets when he finally meets you. He looked at me with that expectant, hopeful face. I shot him down immediately. I don't want to meet. The real world is exhausting. People like us introverts should just live quietly on the internet. Besides, a man's greatest charm comes from a woman's imagination. Online relationships preserve the mystery. All lies. The truth was I was planning to break up. I started talking to him only to practice my French. I never planned on keeping it long term, and I'm the type who likes being in control. The dominant center stage heroine kind. He was too obedient, too tender, too emotional, not my flavor. He didn't know any of that. Of course, he was still smiling at me like some sweet innocent angel. Okay, I'll behave. And when my baby can't wait to see me anymore, I'll show up right in front of you. We met on a language exchange app. He was the heir of an old French money family, vineyard, stud farms, the whole aristocratic catalog. I was a farm girl from the American Midwest, surrounded by cornfields and a few hundred head of cattle. With the time difference, the cultural gap, and the whole noble French lineage versus dusty farm boots dynamic, I figured he'd flirt for a few days, get bored and disappear. Turns out love doesn't care about geography. The little heir went full on wholesome romance with me. When I was studying for the LSAT, he did practice questions with me. When my French pronunciation was off, he corrected me again and again. Even during arguments, he couldn't resist fixing my grammar. In the summer, I'd talk to him all night from the farm, and in the mornings he'd remind me to go feed the cows. He claimed he'd heard them mooing for ages and thought they were starving. He didn't know that cows chew cud. That's literally what he was hearing. But his heart was in the right place. He wasn't just kind though. He loved giving gifts. One night, overwhelmed by schoolwork, I joked that I didn't want to grind anymore, that I wished I could just say honey and magically get an unlimited black card like some spoiled Aries. My online boyfriend went completely silent. The next day, a FedEx International Express package arrived from France. Inside was a weighty titanium black card engraved with his last name. The note said, "The pin is your birthday. No spending limit. Enjoy manure." Sure, it was voluntarily offered, but the gesture was so over the top it practically painted taunted me gold digging. Stop. I don't want your card. I was joking, he pleaded genuinely for me to take it. My credit limit is too high. The bank keeps urging me to spend more. Babe, could you help take on a little of the burden? If you're willing to spend it, then I finally understand the point of making money. His emotional intelligence flawless. I stared at the card, the kind of mythic black card that people joked could buy a private jet, and my lips just lifted. Okay, fine. If I'm not supposed to be materialistic, then what is the point of all my suffering? Was I going to go full reckless spender with this Frenchman? Not only am I vain and materialistic, I also enjoy luxury, laziness, and letting someone else foot the bill. I even stayed in this relationship for over a year, partly because of that damn black card. But now this clingy puppy has decided he wants to meet in person. That means I need to break up fast because I had already been accepted for a 4-month exchange program in Paris. And if I drag this out any longer, once I'm physically in France, getting rid of this problem is going to be a hell of a lot harder. We broke up because of an accident. An absolutely ridiculous one. I was exhausted that afternoon. After hanging up our FaceTime call, I meant to text him that I was going to sleep for an hour. But my damn autocorrect decided to rewrite it into sleep with an honor student named Howard. He had no idea this was a normal texting disaster. It never even crossed his mind that it might be a typo. He went berserk on iMessage, blowing up my phone like a beagle whose tail had just been stepped on. An American and a French one. Is that why you won't let me come see you? You're afraid I'll run into him. What does that nerd have that I don't? Please don't go find another man. I'm calling the pilot now. Wait for me. Okay. Please don't sleep with him. I'll cry. I'm being serious. Babe, did you hear me? I'll actually cry in front of you. No, baby. My heart is broken. You've killed me. You've let me expire. My heart is sick. Can we make a group chat? You two can talk in there. I won't say anything. I'll just watch. Okay. Why aren't you replying? What does that mean? Is he not letting you use your phone? I turned on Do Not Disturb and slept for way more than an hour. When I woke up, my lock screen was nothing but his unread notifications. I bolted upright and sent him one single voice message. Let's break up. The crybaby immediately started throwing a fit, which only confirmed that this was the perfect chance to end things. He video called me within 3 seconds. What did you say? Why break up? Did he tell you to do this? I suddenly don't mind if you have another man in America. Please don't leave me, okay? His voice was tight, eyebrows drawn together like a kid who didn't know how to handle being hurt. I looked at that beautiful face on the screen and gritted my teeth. Better a sharp pain now than a dragged out one. No matter how handsome he was never going to be more than a brief detour in my story. You're always like this, clingy, suspicious. If I respond a little slow, you say you can smell me flirting with someone on Snapchat. And now I make one typo and you accuse me of cheating. You don't trust me at all. A long-distance relationship without trust. It's doomed anyway. We were just having fun, that's all. His deep blue eyes locked onto me. The intensity so sharp it felt like he could reach through the screen. Fun? I don't believe that. Babe, you chose to have fun with me out of all the men in the world. That means you love me. I shouldn't have doubted you. I'm repenting to God right now. He was confessing while I was literally dumping him. What kind of circuit was this man running on? Charles D. St. Clair, I said, my voice ice cold. Cut the innocent act. French men are famous for being romantic players. I bet you dated more girls than my shoe size. You got bored of Parisian models and wanted to try something different. Something Midwestern corn flavored. And now you're looking for some sweet, naive farm girl to pick up the pieces. He froze. Just stared at me in disbelief. How can you think that? My heart isn't dirty because only one person has ever lived in it. I really like you. I was serious about us. I swear on the St. Clair family name. Let's not fight, please. Right. Definitely not easy to get rid of. I pushed the phone farther away and crossed my arms, putting a wall between us. We're not fighting. We're breaking up. We are done. Do you understand? The kind of done that doesn't come with second chances. I used you for your money. You were too generous. Now that I've maxed out your black card, there's no point keeping you around. The moment I said we are you're done, his eyes immediately re-eamed. I have more money. You can keep using me, okay? I like it when you spend my secondary card. I'm glad I have the wealth to buy you anything you want. For a second, I almost believed him. Almost. Fine, I'll tell you the truth. My French is fluent now. I passed the DLF. I don't need your money. I just want a clean break. I said it with full villain energy, unapologetically cruel. He let out a strangled sound, crying so hard he lost all his French air dignity. No, you never liked me. You only wanted to learn French. You used me. I'm never helping you click those stupid to discount links again. He was curious in that helpless, ridiculous way that made me want to laugh. Goodbye, my social network. How can you say I used you? I taught you English slang, didn't I? English is harder. Those irregular verbs are hell. You got the better deal here. The little heir stared at me like a teary golden retriever, eyes shimmering. Your French accent isn't even that good. In the beginning you taught me English words on purpose so when you insulted me I'd understand. He really was crying like an abandoned movie hero. Tragic, trembling heartbreak incarnate. Afraid I might soften, I looked away and forced impatience into my voice. Done crying. Hang up when you're done. It was just fun, you silly Frenchie. I threw the words like knives, watching his eyes fill again. Charles knew I wouldn't comfort him. He knew I'd only hit harder. His sobbing quieted. Reedy, choking on breath. He whispered, when you loved me you called me your puppy. You said I was cute when I spoke broken English like a small dog just turning into a human trying to talk to its owner. And now that we're breaking up you call me a dumb dog, a French idiot. I hate you. You've stolen my heart forever. You evil woman. I hate you so much. You ruined my entire life, babe. He accused me flawlessly, but I didn't want to hear any of it. I ended the FaceTime call with a sharp, satisfying click. My ears were finally quiet, but his face, tear-streaked, breath-hitching, beautifully devastated, kept flashing in front of my eyes. This man could rival any Hollywood romantic lead with the way he cried in heartbreak. I'll admit it, there were moments when I really did feel something for Charles, but I know myself too well. Long-distance love almost always fades into nothing. No matter how passionate it starts, love can't easily overcome thousands of miles and a 6-hour time difference. Even the loudest, brightest romance eventually dulls under time and distance and ends in a dim, quiet collapse. A beautiful memory is enough. We both have separate lives to live, different paths already laid out ahead of us. What I didn't know then was this. Across the ocean, right after being dumped so brutally, the little heir threw his custom iPhone onto a Persian rug, grabbed the antique hunting rifle propped in the corner and fired a few rounds at the sculpture on the lawn. Then he let out a cold, humoral laugh. So that's it, he said softly. Being good doesn't work anymore. Last winter Charles told me Paris was freezing, that even the Seine was about to turn into ice. I asked him whether it could possibly be colder than a Chicago winter. He said it couldn't. Chicago had me in it. So of course it was warm. This year right before Christmas we broke up and I flew to Paris for my exchange program. He probably never imagined I would come, or that I would come after ending things just to avoid being noticed by him. Paris is big enough that if you don't look for someone you almost never run into them. But Paris is also small. I somehow ran into a high school classmate I hadn't seen in 3 years. He was also studying abroad at the Sorbonne, living in the apartment next to mine with a ridiculously cute border collie. The first time we met was when he was taking his dog out. He saw me awkwardly saying goodbye to a few new acquaintances and my broken French. When our eyes met he smiled and greeted me. Chloe, long time no see. Your French sounds great. You've improved a lot since high school French class. I remember you barely spoke back then. You always said your accent was too heavy. Did you get a private tutor? Not exactly a tutor. I dated a French guy online, I said. He laughed under his breath. What are you laughing at? Nothing. I've heard of online relationships scamming people out of money and feelings, but it's the first time I've seen someone scam free language lessons. Oh, I scammed more than that. Looks, affection, the whole package. He laughed outright, this time eyes curved, still warm and bright like he'd been in high school. Josh was always gentle, clean-cut, effortlessly smart. Back in high school plenty of girls had crushes on him, but no one dared confess because he was so painfully upright, like the type who after rejecting a girl would feel obligated to report the incident to the guidance counselor counselor. In a foreign country, familiar faces suddenly become comforting. Josh and I started talking more and more. We walked his dog at Champ de Mars at night. He gave me 2 boxes of macarons and truffle chocolates he'd made himself. I never imagined that the boy who once had nothing but calculus formulas in his head would fall in love with French paddock. Maybe it's the croissants here. They make you feel like life has no meaning unless you eat something sweet afterward. On the way back to my apartment, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom suddenly pulled up beside me. A uniformed driver stepped out, polite but unyielding. "Madame, Mademoiselle, someone wishes to see you." Before I could refuse, I was ushered, half guided, half shoved into the back seat. The car sped through the parasite. Maybe it was the atmosphere or maybe just the silence, but the air inside the car felt heavy, suffocating. I tried speaking to the man in the front seat, who looked very much like a bodyguard. "Just personal," I said. "I am a poor and useless person. I'm not worth much. Hello. Please don't kidnap me. I'm just a broke student." "Thank you," the man responded in broken English, each word falling like a brick. "Thank you for compliment. You understand English?" "Yes. I worked in U.S. Marine before." "Oh, a retired Marine. Wonderful." I gave a stiff smile. "For someone in this line of work, you're oddly polite." Finally, the car stopped in front of a Baroque-style estate on the outskirts of the city. The big guy spoke into his earpiece, confirming that I'd been delivered. Cold air rushed in as the door opened, and there he was, the man who had lived in my phone screen, the man who had sobbed that he hated me, standing in front of me in the flesh. My heart, which had been dangling in uneasy suspense ever since I arrived in Paris, finally dropped completely. "Charles de St. Clair, why did you send someone to grab me?" Charles stared at me, steady, unblinking, like a venomous snake lurking in the dark, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Babe," he said calmly, "I showed great restraint by not taking you straight from Charles de Gaulle Airport. You're the one who misbehaved, going on dates with another man." His arm brushed along my waist, warm, deliberate, impossible to ignore. I stepped back on instinct, but he narrowed his eyes, slid a hand to the small of my back and pressed firm, pinning me in place. "Little honey trap of a girl," he murmured. "Shouldn't I punish you?" Pressed against him, I glared as hard as I could. He only smiled, amused, and calmly straightened my scarf, the one that had gotten rumpled in the car. Then his gaze dropped to my wrist, where thin red marks were visible from earlier. Really, it was just me pulling too hard at my own bag strap. But the way his expression hardened, sharp as a blade, was terrifying. "I told you to invite her," as if she were a priceless treasure. He snapped at the bodyguard. "I, imbecile." The bodyguard lowered his head. "Sorry, boss." She was hesitant. Charles's face was murderous. I worried he'd actually dock the poor guy's pay. The man was just trying to survive. So I quickly muttered it was me. I didn't want to get in. It wasn't his fault. Charles led me into the main hall of the mansion. A long dining table was already laid out with an elegant French meal. I ate until I was full, then leaned back and said, purposely provocative, "Thanks for dinner. Can I leave now?" Whatever softness had been on Charles's face vanished cleanly, completely. "Leave and go meet him? You can't bear to be away from that little nerd, can you? He gives you 2 boxes of that cheap, sugary garbage and you accept it happily." "Cheap garbage?" I scoffed. What kind of description is that? It had only been a month since the breakup. Why had his vocabulary fallen off a cliff? But more importantly, how did he know about the macarons? "How do you know someone gave me macarons? Did you send people to collect me and to follow me around Paris? Spy on my life?" His throat bobbed as he stared at my mouth. "You're so clever, babe." His gaze made me uncomfortable. I bit my lip and snapped. "You have no right to monitor me. Did you forget we broke up?" "We broke up. I can see whoever I want. It's basic human rights, and I am not your babe." His brows tightened. He strode toward me, grabbed my arm, and lifted me effortlessly onto the edge of the dining table. In the orange glow of the fireplace, his blue eyes looked impossibly deep, almost unreal. My own eyes darted away. I couldn't hold his gaze. "Are you listening?" I said. "I'm your ex-girlfriend, not your babe. You don't get to control me. Even if I start dating again, that's none of your business." He braced his hands on either side of me, caging me in. His cold lips brushed my earlobe. "Don't say things like that, babe," he whispered. "It makes me angry." "Oh, you're angry. Then what? Going to throw yourself on the floor, kick, scream, cry your eyes out?" He raised a brow slightly. "That doesn't work, does it? I've learned my lesson. Next time, instead of letting you pity me, I'll simply remove every man who tries to win your heart. I'll erase them from your world completely. That way, the only person you ever look at is me. If you don't love me now, I'll just keep going until you have no choice but to need only me. So listen carefully, sweetheart. When I get angry, very bad things happen. His arms tightened, locking me against his chest. My whole body was swallowed by his hold, solid, unyielding. I shoved him back, horrified, because suddenly at the collar of his white shirt I saw a smear of dark red. You stay away from me. Get back. You have blood on you. Don't touch me. Charles lowered his eyes as if only now noticing the streak on his collar. Small but unmistakably blood. Scared you? He said it almost casually. I saw the photo of you and that man walking his dog under the Eiffel Tower. At that moment I was at my private shooting range practicing clay pigeon shooting. The recoil from the stock scraped my shoulder a little. My mood wasn't great. My aim slipped. So not only does he kidnap his ex-girlfriend, he also plays with guns. Liar. How could a man like this ever have been a crybaby? You were pretending all of it. You were never my puppy. He leaned in. Dark, dangerous, merciless. Being your little dog didn't work. You tossed me aside any time you felt like it. I will step up and become your man. His voice dropped deep enough to vibrate down my spine. Do you feel that? I like you. I never lied. He took my hand, lifted it delicately, and kissed the back of it. Welcome back to me. Let me introduce you to the real Charles de St. Clair. Through the thin fabric of my clothes, his presence hit me with raw predatory intensity. God, how could someone be this sexy and so perfectly my type? All that time pretending to be gentle and weepy, what was the point of that act? This was the version he'd kept hidden. Hot damn. Charles's master bedroom was enormous, and the air carried that crisp dark cologne that clung to him. I didn't even get a chance to look around before he lifted me like a kitten and dropped me straight into the bathroom. When I stepped out after showering, he was standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, speaking on the phone, voice low, expression sharp, switching rapidly through fluent French like he was negotiating a hostile takeover. Less a tumor J men occupational, I'll handle it. He hung up. I was wearing the silk night dress he had laid out, too perfectly sized, too deliberately chosen. Two thin straps barely clung to my shoulders, threatening to slip at the slightest movement. The hem was short, obscenely short, skimming the top of my thighs, framing the curve of my hips. Undid two buttons on his shirt collar, half lit at his eyes, and looked me over slowly like assessing freshly caught prey. Trace sage. Very good. Come here. A shiver ran through me. Don't hide. He had already predicted I'd run. He didn't give me the chance. He crossed the room in long strides and swept me into his arms. I let out a choked sound, pushing weakly at his chest. He held me as if I weighed nothing. Move one more time, he murmured, and I'll tie your hands with my tie and secure them to the headboard. Charles de St. Clair. Be good. Ma petite fille, my little girl. In the end, he got exactly what he wanted. His mouth found the hollow of my neck, teeth grazing the soft skin there as he spoke against me. Babe, I have to deal with something urgent tomorrow. A minor issue with the family business. I won't be back until after sunset. When I return, I want to find you right here waiting obediently. Otherwise, I'll use every means I have to ensure you stay by my side permanently. My vision blurred. His kisses made my thoughts unravel. All I could do was nod. He gave a quiet, satisfied laugh. Rested yet? No. You'll need to catch your breath soon. At midnight, his voice dipped. Warm, sinful. I'm going to give you a real New Year's kiss. Security at the estate was everywhere. Even if Charles left for a full day, sneaking out without alerting anyone would have been nearly impossible. Not that it mattered. Truthfully, I didn't really want to escape. The little crybaby who used to pout and tear up had transformed into exactly my favorite kind of man. Dark, obsessive, aristocratic. That flavor, I'd never actually experienced it before. Might as well enjoy the moment. On the eastern side of the chateau stretched a vast private vineyard and winery, basically a billionaire's version of my family's cornfields back home. I'd always wondered what a top-tier winery looked like. So when the cool evening breeze invited me to wander, I strolled right in. Perhaps Charles thought I couldn't fly away even if I tried, because there were no guards sticking close to me, and I didn't notice the rustling behind a row of grapevines. Josh suddenly burst out from behind one of the trellises. When he saw it was just me, he sprinted forward, grabbed my hand, and shoved my phone into it. When I was escorted here, I dropped it between the car seats during the struggle. I didn't expect he'd gotten hold of it. Josh looked like he hadn't slept all night. His eyes were bloodshot, frantic. I saw you never came back to the apartment, he said, breathless. So I checked the security footage downstairs. I saw you getting into a luxury car I didn't recognize. eyes. I remember you told me your ex was a French kid, so that car must have been sent by him, wasn't it? I filed a police report this morning. That's how I learned the plate belongs to the Desclair family. You two only dated online and you've already broken up. How dare he pull something like this in a civilized country? Chloe, I'm getting you out of here. I found a section of the wall with a gap. The cameras don't cover it. We can climb out that way. That's how I got in. He was talking fast. Too fast. Tugging my hand, dragging me toward the wall. You misunderstand Josh. He didn't force me. I'm staying because I want to. I'm not leaving. You should go back. This is private property. He ignored every word. Chloe, are you insane? Did you even hear what I said? You've been monitored this whole time. He is not a normal person. Even Paris police don't want to touch anything involving the Desclair family. You must be threatened. Just tell me. And then the deafening roar of helicopter blades exploded above us. Wind blasted across the vineyard, whipping the grapevines violently. For a moment all I heard was ringing. Josh stepped in front of me, protectively staring at the private helicopter as it descended. The estate's floodlights snapped on all at once, harsh beams slicing through the dark, illuminating the man stepping out. His shadow stretched long across the ground, tall, sharp, and terrifying. Charles stood there, face carved in ice. His gaze cut through the lights, through the vineyard, through the distance, and locked onto me, unblinking, cold, predatory. Are you lost, babe? He asked softly. I crashed straight into those bottomless blue eyes, and for a second my mind went completely blank. Everything inside me stalled. Charles's gaze moved slowly, icily downward like a searchlight sweeping across a crime scene, and then it stopped on the place where Josh's hand was tightly wrapped around mine. I instinctively tried to pull away. Josh panicked, only held on tighter, shielding me even more. Lost? You've got some nerves saying that. Josh snapped. You're the one who had her kidnapped and dragged out here. You two already broke up. She doesn't want you. Learn to let go like a man. Is it so hard to end things peacefully? Instead, you pull some psycho stunt like abducting your ex. He was speaking rapid-fire French. Years of studying abroad had sharpened his tongue, but Charles wasn't listening, not to a single word. He merely tilted his head slightly and gave the arriving head of security one small, precise look. Within seconds, two highly trained guards slammed Josh to the ground. It happened too quickly for me to process. Charles walked toward me with long, unhurried strides. His warm palm slid over my wrist, the same wrist Josh had just been gripping, his callous thumb brushing deliberately over my pulse. I should have shown you what I'm like when I'm truly angry, he murmured. If I had, you never would have dared try walking away with him today. I wasn't leaving. Josh misunderstood. Just let him. He lifted his hand, cold fingertips trailing across my cheek before snapping my chin upward with sharp force. His eyes were brutal. Think carefully before you speak. If you plead for him, he won't survive in Paris. His grip clamped around my jaw, holding me still, forcing me to meet his gaze. Then he leaned down and kissed me. Not gently, a punishing, domineering kiss that crushed every breath, every word I was about to say. I struggled helplessly, then caught the tiny gap when he paused to breathe and sank my teeth hard into his lower lip. Being kissed like this in front of a whole team of armed security, shame crawled hot up my spine. I swung my hand and slapped him across the face. The crack echoed through the vineyard, sharp, merciless like a gunshot. Charles yanked me into his chest, crushing me against him, and something hard jabbed painfully into my side. The rifle butt. My eyes flew wide. He really brought the gun. In the deathly stillness that followed, Charles slid one hand to the back of my head and pressed me tighter against him, an unmistakable gesture of absolute possession. He tilted his head, glanced down at Josh pinned to the dirt, and raised one eyebrow in a silent, mocking challenge. Women aren't reliable, he said softly, coldly. He wiped his thumb across the bead of blood I'd drawn from his lip, lifted it to his mouth, and licked it off. Security is something a man should take for himself. He issued a few orders in French to his men. Then, without a second of hesitation, he wrapped one arm around my waist, lifted me like I weighed nothing, and slung me over his shoulder like I was a sack of grain he'd bought for the winter. His shoulder was broad, solid, and damn it, he walked so steadily it almost felt safe being carried like that. All the way down the corridor lined with classical oil paintings. I kicked and twisted, pounding weakly at his back. Put me down. Where are you taking taking me, you psychopath. Don't make me hate you. I didn't stop fighting. Charles clearly had no patience left to haul me all the way back to the main chateau. Near the vineyard was a smaller standalone villa designed for wine tasting and private retreats. Inside, everything smelled of old oak barrels and aged wine. Deer antler chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the walls were decorated with sepia photos of his ancestors during their hunting seasons. It rare of old-world decadence and aristocratic arrogance. He tossed me onto a soft leather sofa, and I immediately demanded, "What about Josh? What did you do to him? He's just my high school classmate. There's nothing between us. Don't drag innocent people into this." "Shoo," he leaned down, covering my mouth with his hand. "Say his name again," he murmured, "and I'll put you over my knee like a disobedient child." I froze, instantly staring at him in horror. Only then did his brows relax, a faint smile returning to his voice. "He's been properly handled." And with that he casually began undoing his shirt buttons, each one revealing more of his chest in the warm light. My tears spilled uncontrollably. "I don't like him. I never did. Why do you have to involve people who did nothing wrong? You monster. You lunatic. You absolute maniac. How can you ruin someone's life just like that? I hate you." My insults rolled off him as if they were nothing more than pleasant background noise. "You're yelling at me? Why does it sound more like you're whining? If I'm too rough later, will you cry and whine like this too?" I felt like I couldn't breathe. Because of me, a classmate's whole life might have been destroyed. Charles looked down at me with a sigh, almost exasperated. Then he took out his phone and made a call, setting it on speaker. Josh's voice burst out, breathless with excitement. "Chloe, can you hear me? Oh my God, Mr. Distinct, Claire just gave me an offer at the New York headquarters. Triple my current salary, but I have to fly there right away. Sorry, I can't stick around for you. Take care." A textbook money solves everything arc. The call ended. Charles dropped the phone onto a chair and started toward me. Every step predatory. Still crying, sensing danger, I shrank back into the corner of the sofa. He moved fast, arching over me, pinning both my wrists above my head against the cushion. "Did you kiss him? No. You don't like him? No. What about me?" His voice cracked. Not loud, just devastating. "Babe changed her heart," he said quietly. "You don't love me anymore. Why can't you love me? Please tell me why." The words hit like a blow. Not violent, but broken, raw, demanding. Why couldn't I love him? I let everything I'd buried, every fear, every doubt, rise to the surface as I answered him. "Charles, the things I said when we broke up, some of them were just to push you away, to make you let go. I didn't stop loving you. But I also haven't reached the point where I can't live without you, because I never dared to seriously imagine a future with you. I'm in America. You're in France. We speak different native languages. We come from completely different cultures. Even a normal long-distance relationship is hard enough, let alone one separated by an entire ocean. When the initial passion and novelty fade, what's left is a withdrawal nobody can fix. I don't want that. I don't want us to become deeply woven into each other's lives only to be torn apart by reality. Habit is terrifying. Isn't it better to cut our losses early before we become something neither of us can walk away from?" He listened, really listened, brows faintly drawn together as if I had handed him a philosophical theorem instead of my heart. "So that's it?" he asked quietly. "You liked me, but you left because of that?" He lowered his head until our eyes were level and pressed a soft kiss to my lashes, still wet with tears. "I don't accept that reason, because from the very first video call when you looked at me with those beautiful eyes, I already couldn't live without you. I reached that point long before you did. I think I ruined myself because I didn't tell you my resolve when I should have. I love you enough that distance was never the problem. I'm willing to live in America with you." My breath caught. "But France is your home," I whispered. "Your family, your business, everything is there." He shook his head slowly. "Compared to staying in Paris without you, what matters more is this. I want to see the land that raised the girl I'm so completely obsessed with. I want to know where you come from. I want to understand it. Will you explore it with me?" My nose stung, my eyes filled again, this time from something warm and overwhelming. Completely undone by him, I whispered. "Charles, the future is long. Let's take our time figuring out the answer together." That night, lightning met dry kindling. "Do you know what you said the most when we broke up?" he whispered against my ear. "Just for fun. You hung up on my FaceTime, blocked me on iMessage, deleted me from Snapchat. It's fine. Run as far as you want. I have endless ways to find you. But from now on, don't ever say we are done. Don't say you're leaving me. That's the one thing I can't take." My hand brushed his abs, solid wallet under my palm and my face flushed scarlet. God, he really was a king of talking big. Over the screen he used to tease me with lines that made me question where exactly he wanted to start. My voice came out hoarse-breathy. I'm sorry. I won't say break up again. Babe, does that mean we're back together? Good. Then let's settle the rest of the accounts. Accounts. A few minutes later I understood everything. Saying I would sleep with an honor student, one count. Accusing him of dating a harem of blonde models, one count. Calling him a silly Frenchie, another count. Calling him a liar, also a count. Tears streamed down my face, actual physiological tears. That one doesn't count. Liar isn't an insult. I don't want to do this anymore. Don't rush. We're not done. He kissed the tears sliding down my cheek. And then you held hands with another man under the Eiffel Tower. You tell me, should that be counted as a major offense? Outside, the sky over Paris slowly brightened. Just before I drifted off, I felt him nuzzle into the crook of my neck, breathing hard, deep, satisfied. Babe, he exhaled. You feel so damn good. After the exchange program ended, Charles came back to the US with me. He carried with him a vintage Sony Walkman, the one I'd mailed to him early in our online relationship as a birthday gift, along with a few Taylor Swift songs I'd recorded for him. I never knew he treasured it this much, or that he had filled it with audio diary entries he never told me about. He didn't even let me touch it normally. Who knew what incriminating secrets were inside? One day I slipped a little vodka into his iced Americano just to mess with him. He only took one sip before he caught me smiling, grabbing the back of my neck, pulling me into a kiss. Naughty kitten, he murmured against my lips. Naughty kitten and fierce puppy make a perfect pair, don't they? After I coaxed him to sleep, I tiptoed to his study in search of the Walkman. When I finally found it, I realized there were two photos tucked underneath. One was a selfie I'd sent him back when we were still just online lovers. He had printed it out, laminated it, carefully preserved like a relic. On the back, in elegant cursive, he'd written my future wife. The second photo was the photo booth sticker we took together at Disneyland after returning to the States. On the back, in shaky, newly practiced English letters, he had written her. My heart tightened, soft, warm, breathless. Like something brushed tenderly against the inside of my chest. With trembling curiosity, I pressed play. Charles had recorded hundreds of audio diary entries. Thank God he'd modified that ancient Walkman. Its storage was massive now. I plugged in the headphones. His low magnetic voice poured into my ears, warm and intimate, like he was whispering directly against my skin. Today is the first day of being with Chloe. Babe said her body was drained. I almost died of fear. Why would a thief try to steal her body? She laughed at my terrible English slang. I learn fast. She'll see. Today is the second day of being with Chloe. I told Babe that so I can understand all her jokes. I fell asleep last night hugging the Urban Dictionary. But Babe said trusting me is like trusting she's the Queen of England. Queen Elizabeth. I asked Babe if I should perform the curtsy. Babe sent me a LOL. Does that mean lots of love? Today is the 10th day of being with Chloe. Learning languages is hard. Hiding in the bathroom to cry. This is what happens when studying collapses your spirit. But my current English isn't enough. I must go deeper to understand every small shift in her emotions. I'm willing to spend my whole life learning. Today is the 17th day of being with Chloe. We're both busy. Haven't heard Bab's voice for a whole day. I feel my language system deteriorating. Today is the 21st day of being with Chloe. Babe's friend greeted me with "What's up?" I answered seriously about what was in the sky. Airplanes, clouds, birds. I was just trying to be precise. Why did Babe say I sounded like a nerd? Today is the 30th day of being with Chloe. I heard Babe humming while studying. The lyrics meant the most painful distances, that you're not beside me but still inside my heart. My heart ate. I don't understand why some distances can exist in the heart but not in the body. I want to be beside her. This is the first time I asked my secretary to request a private flight route to Chicago. Today is the 65th day of being with Chloe. The worst day, because when we were on video call, another guy walked past her and tried to flirt. She actually hung up our FaceTime for that random stranger. I'm angry. Very angry. Today is the 86th day of being with Chloe. We argued and made up. Babe said she'd teach me some real American swear words. I asked her what a swear word was. Babe asked me what I would say if she suddenly slapped me across the face for no reason. Of course I said, "More please." Babe said she was speechless. I don't understand. Was my answer wrong? Today is the 100th day day of being with Chloe. To wake Babe up. I said, "Good morning, infant." Babe said she isn't a giant baby. That infant means a tiny child, so I can't call her that. Strange. In the dictionary, babe and infant both mean baby. Aren't they synonyms? I checked so many versions of Oxford. I thought she'd praise me for being clever. Never mind. In the end, we're going to get married anyway. And the only word I'll need every morning is wife. My wife. Today is the 500th day of being with Chloe. I've flown to Chicago so many times to see her secretly. I only watch from afar. Just one glance. Why doesn't Babe ever mention wanting to see me? I should tempt her. After showering, I won't put on a shirt during video. Her eyes lit up like she'd just seen a limited edition luxury bag. She said I have killer pecs. The translation app said that means murder chest. Stupid app. My instincts are much better. I'm so glad I understand a little English, even if it's just a little. Let's speak English together, babe. Today is the 500th day of being with Chloe. I think today is meaningful. I already prepared the flight route in advance. This time I won't watch her secretly. I'll see her face to face. I'll hold her. Today is still the 500th day of being with Chloe. No, my babe wants to break up with me. She even said just for fun. She doesn't love me at all. She only wanted to practice French. I never knew such a beautiful language could hurt this much. I feel murdered by language. Why is my babe smiling so happily? Did you always intend to throw me away? Babe, I hate you. I hate that you don't love me. Today is the 51st day of being with Chloe. I love her. As long as I still love her, we aren't truly broken up. Today is the 502nd day. I can't sleep. I realized being obedient doesn't work anymore. Crying doesn't work either. What do I have left to keep you with me? Today is the 530th day. Reporting to Babe. Today I learned to make American-style barbecue ribs with a Michelin chef. The sauce is a little salty, but I'll improve. When I finally bring Babe over, she can eat delicious food. Happy. Today is the 550th day. Babe came to Paris. I waited 1 month. She finally delivered herself to me. Waiting for Bab's grand arrival in my territory. Today is the 560th day. To avoid scaring Babe away, I forced myself to travel to another city to calm down. But when I came back, why did I find another man beside Babe? Walking a dog together, smiling so sweetly like a couple very disobedient. I think I should have grabbed her immediately and locked her in the estate. When she cries, she always behaves. Today is the 561st day. I made Babe cry. She rewarded me with a slap. Babe, I only love you too much. Is that wrong? Today is the 562nd day. We reconciled today. I held her as we slept. I can hold her all night. A real body, real warmth. I think I will never lose sleep again. But I was bad today. I scared Babe. Babe called me an pervert. It sounded like she was whining. I said I didn't understand. I lied. I understood everything. But even being cursed at, all I wanted was to smile beautifully. Because for the first time, Babe looked at me so seriously with only me in her eyes. Today is the 669th day of being with Chloe. We returned to Chicago. I wanted so badly to understand what kind of place could raise someone as remarkable as my Babe. Today is the 800th day. To help Bab's family accept me, I installed a full automatic temperature-controlled system in the barn and brought in several purebred racehorses. Why did Babe's parents call me silly boy? I don't understand, but I'm not sad. Because silly boy sounds much better than silly dog. Today is the 900th day. Babe asked me to help harvest corn. Driving a combine harvester is amazing. Very fun. But I think I saw my future mother-in-law recording me on her phone. She said our French boy is a real farmer now. Is that a compliment? Babe loves me and her family approves of me. Does that mean I can soon start calling Babe my wife? My wife, you make me happy. By the time the last recording ended, I was laughing and crying at the same time. His English, once clumsy and adorably literal, had grown smoother, richer, even tinged with a Midwest accent he must have picked up from listening to me and my family. All of it. The long nights spent studying, the private flights, the quiet visits to Chicago, the hidden diaries, the effort to win over a farm family with barns and racehorses. promises. Everything he did was for one reason: to close the distance between us, to meet me where I lived, to love me in a language that was mine. I never realized how fiercely he had been choosing me every single day. I, a pessimistic realist who always believed long-distance love dies in silence, drowned by oceans and time zones, was suddenly demolished by the sincerity in those recordings. He had loved me loudly in the light and silently in the dark, with a devotion that didn't weigh consequences or distance or logic. When the final audio ended, dawn was beginning to seep into the sky. The Walkman automatically clicked to the next track, the song I had once recorded for him. You ask me why I'm so stubborn and devoted. The world is too big. There's always someone better suited for you. Actually, I think it's not worth it. But I have no other way. The moment you appear, everyone else just seems ordinary. 4000 m. An ocean. 2 languages. 2 people who by all logic and probability should never have crossed paths. And yet fate guided us impossibly into each other's lives. For someone like me who always calculated risks and prepared for heartbreak, it was shocking to stand face to face with a love so pure, so reckless, so utterly unwavering. For once I didn't want rationality to win. I wanted my heart to speak. And it said it's time. Go to the church. Bonus chapter. After we married, I told Charles I'd be home for dinner. But I lost track of time with my friends. And by the time I finally stepped through the front door, it was nearly 11 at night. The moment the lock clicked, Charles pinned me against the wall so abruptly I gasped. Babe. His voice was low, wounded in that dangerous way. The ribs I made for you got cold. You didn't come home to eat with me. I was very sad. His forehead pressed to mine, breath mingling with my own. What do you think you should do? He murmured, to make it up to me. I pulled him down by the collar and kissed him softly. Don't be angry. Charles swept me up with one arm, kissing me back with a heat that erased every thought, carrying me step by step toward the bathroom. The world blurred. Time blurred. At some point I was breathless, half laughing, half protesting, things I no longer had the strength to resist. My fingers curled into his shoulders. Charles, put me down. I can't. I'm going to slip. I hate you. Babe, he said against my skin. Then why are your legs shaking whenever I touch you? I didn't have an answer. I wasn't sure he wanted one. The next moment I was on the bed, his hands warm around my knees, steadying me firmly as if I might disappear. Now, he whispered, this part is your punishment. For what? For not calling me darling when I asked. His tone was soft, too soft. The kind that made my heartbeat stutter. I squirmed away instinctively, but he caught my ankle, gently lifting it with a patience that was somehow even more disarming than anger. Charles. My voice shook, half plea, half warning. He only answered, I'll be gentle. I'm sorry, I blurted. I won't stay out so late again. I won't ever skip dinner with you. That's sweet, he said, but tonight apologies don't count. Charles, please. He quieted me with a kiss to my temple. Outside, the house was still. Only our breaths filled the room. Eventually, after what felt like hours, he gathered me against his chest, smoothing a hand over my back, then over my waist, coaxing the tension out of my muscles. I drifted somewhere between sleep and waking, barely aware of the steady circles he traced. Sweet girl, he murmured into my hair, voice warm and smug. The clock hands swept past midnight into the small hours. Just as I started to slip into sleep, I heard him add, soft, amused, and possibly tender, thank you for taking me out for dinner tonight, baby.